Make sure you've created a new project. You may have to delete an old project if you went in there and played in order to get a brand new from scratch project. But we're going to jump into Vectary in this manner. So we're going to create a triangle. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I want to do the same sort of triangle size that we had in Maya. It's a little bit harder to see the grid lines in Vectary, but we'll make it work. So in Vectary, you have to go to the Edit tab to get a similar tool, a Create Polygon tool. So I'm going to go to Edit, and you'll see a bunch of options. Some are grayed out because you don't have a mesh there to use these options, but we can use this tool, the Draw Lines tool, to start from scratch. So I'm going to grab my Draw Lines tool, and you'll see my little manipulator changed. And I want to make sure that snap to grid is on. So if I go hover over my magnet, you'll see that I have a bunch of snapping options. In this case, it's okay to have all of these selected. I want to make sure I have snap to grid selected. Okay, and then I'm going to go back over to my grid and go to the center of the grid and click on it to create a vertex. So if I click here, I've just created a vertex. You can't really see it, but now that again, I'm not holding down left mouse button, I just clicked once. When I move my cursor away, you'll see Vectary draws a hypothetical edge from the initial vert to the one that they think I'm going to place next. So I have to count 5 grid lines, and I'm going to do that in the X direction, just like I did in my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click there. You can see that I now have an edge there. And I'm going to do the same thing in the Z direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to click there. And to finish the triangle in Vectary, remember Maya created a face once we created that third vert. The Vectary wants you to go back to the origin of where you started your clicking and click there to finish it. And now you'll see that a triangle is on my grid. Now the next step, just like in Maya, is to create a new vert right in the middle of this diagonal edge. You can see that my cursor is snapping all over the place, and I don't want to go straight in there and click on the exact middle just yet. Otherwise, Vectary will create another edge in the middle of our triangle. We don't want that. So I'm going to get out of this Draw Lines tool first by going to my Selection tool and click it. And then I'm going to go back into the Draw Lines tool and click on it. And you'll see that that line is no longer there. The next thing I'm going to do is go back up to my magnet, and I want snap to grid. I want everything but snap to middle off. So I'm going to go there, snap to end, snap to near, snap to face. Just snap to middle is selected. And when I go to this edge, you'll see that when I hover over it, it does a really good job of finding that center point of that edge. And I'm just going to click there. Now I should have another vert right in the middle of that edge. As you can see though, Vectary wants you to go, hey, let's keep creating, let's keep building on this. I don't want that. I just want that vert. So in order to just leave that vert where it is, I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. And for some reason this doesn't want to work today, but I'm going to do the same process I just did, which is go to my selection tool to try to get out of that. And again, it's still showing this line. I do have my selection tool selected, although it didn't change out. I'm going to go to over here. We have our components, just like in Maya. We have verts, edges, and faces. I'm going to select verts, and it doesn't want to seem to disappear. That seems to be a bug in my opinion. So how do we work through this? Well, let's think. What happens if I go back to object mode? Will it allow me to get out? Yes, it does. Now in object mode, it shows similar to what we had in Maya. In this case, the top of the triangle is the positive direction. The bottom is invisible, which means it's the negative direction. So we don't have black and gray in Vectary. We have gray and nothing. But now, if I go back to edit mode and grab my selection tool and go to select by vert, now it'll show the verts. I can click on the vert, and I can then go back and change snap to grid, turn it back on, and I can grab these in this direction. Oh, I don't want snap to middle on, just snap to grid. I could grab my manipulator, or I can grab it in the middle, which is usually a little easier, and snap it again to that 5th grid point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I have a perfect square. And now we want to select that face in order to be able to extrude it to create a cube. So I'm going to get my selection tool, and in edit mode, I'm going to go to select by face. Notice the hotkeys, by the way, in here. We have 1, 2, and 3. I like to do it manually for now. I'm still getting comfortable with hotkeys and the differences between Vectary and Maya. So I'm going to click on the face, and now I'll go over, and you'll see when I hover over the face, it changes to like a white. And if I click and select it, my manipulator shows up. And now, once again, if I have snap to grid available, I can extrude my face. So over here, we have this icon here that says extrude. If I click extrude, all I get is one little arrow, simplifies your options. And if I click up 1, you'll see it snap. 2, 3, 4, 5. Go back to my selection tool. In fact, I'm going to go to object mode, and now I have a perfect cube that's 5 by 5 by 5. So that's it for creating a cube with Vectary. It's pretty simple stuff.